few minutes. Sounds a little bit funny, so many questions and there's hardly any answers. In other words, what I'm trying to say that there is, when you're learning the Parsha, any Parsha, superficially, it doesn't make sense. It's very funny. In other words, the purpose of the question is to show that all the questions are basically based on I would say, on a not a good enough premise, or maybe even on a false premise. Yankee went, he was running away from Esau, and then he's found a beautiful girl, Rivka, and he kissed her, and then he wants her, and he works for her for 7 years. So anyway, so the purpose of the question is to break the premise, not only to have questions, individual, specific. Of course, we get every specific question, but that hopefully forcing us to see in a different premise, and everything is making sense. As I said last time, there's still left specific details that has to be answered. Some of them could answer them more time. Some of them maybe I still don't have the answers for them. But the main thing is to check, to fix, to see it. What's the Parsha saying? Why is telling us the whole story? What's happening here? Okay, we'll start with many questions, and some are more detailed questions, some are more fundamental questions. Okay, so Yaakov, Vayeitzei Yaakov Beersheba. Yaakov left Beersheba. Really, he ran away from Beersheba because he was running away from Esau. So why didn't say Vayivrach? Or they should still, but they already learned before that he went from Beersheba to say only Vayel Chalchol. Why it's saying the from Vayeitzei Yaakov Beersheba? It's a big opening statement. Yaakov went out from Beersheba. So Rashi explains that Tzaddik goes out of the city, he's on a ziva, upon a heder, upon a ador, the beauty, the shine is going away. Even so, Yitzchak stay there, but probably we could say even something more. Now, interesting thing, when Yaakov stole the brachas from Esau, you call it, with tricking, with the whole trick of getting dressed like Esau, he was 63 years old. What did he do for 63 years? Since he was 3 or 2. He's Ishtam Yeshevel, Meset and learned in Kalo. And I don't know what he learned. He didn't have the Shas yet, but he learned Torah. What happened after 60 when he ran away from, and officially he was told by his father and his mother and given the brachas that should make him successful, to go to find a wife in Laban's house. On the way, Eliphaz comes and wants to kill him. Esau's son wants to kill him. So he tells her, but Eliphaz was hesitating because, so he tells them, you know what, take away everything from me. Some unfortunately took in Medrash, he took even away his clothes, he left the mamish naked. And then I'm considered like I'm dead. In other words, what comes out here, and then he went to a river, and then a whole miracle that soldier drowned over there, left his clothes, he took his clothes, and he went to Yeshiva of Shem Ever for another 14 years to learn. The Torah doesn't bother him to tell you, but Ishtam Yeshiva Olim is 4 words. Ishtam Yeshiva Olim, 4 words, that's sitting and learning. And now 14, it doesn't mention Bechal, it's only Midrashim said. But what we see is the Ganzel Tzaddik Yaakov, who's the Bchir Sheba'oves, the chosen of Ha'oves, is afraid of Esau. Then Eliphaz comes to kill him, he's afraid of Eliphaz. And then he has problem with Lavan's. I mean, if he is such a big tzaddik, since he's such a big tzaddik, more correctly, and he has the brachas of Yitzchak, he has the brachas of Rivka, he has the brachas of the Eibishter, as we'll soon see when he's in his dream. In Havai, Nitzav Olav Hashem is standing on him, the Shomrei, to protect him. And God promised, gives him brachas and promise him everything. And they got with all the brachas from everybody, and he's the tzaddik. Tzaddik is that means that he's connected to the Eibishter completely. And Esau and Eliphaz and Lavan are Rishoim. What Rishoim is compared to a tzaddik is like darkness in front of light. Light chases away darkness. And only has mamish is completely tzores, as he said himself to Pare, that he's 130 years old and hard and bad years he had in his life. Where is it coming from? And why did he not mention that he learned? Give us 3 words that he went for 14 years to learn. We have to calculate that missing 14 years, and then we must say that he went to Yeshiva Hashem V'Eiver to learn. Hashem to learn. I think was best aware of it. Then Hashem comes to him and the Mokim HaMikdash comes to him in his dream. He says that if he was sleeping, it's him in the dream. The Rebbe spoke to the Ovis many times, not in a dream, when they're being awake. Avram Avinu Vayera Avram, and Hashem came to visit him, and so why you suddenly said his kid talking to him in his dream? The question of Yaakov's fear is stronger. Yaakov was not a tzaddik. He was a chariot. He was a merkava. He was a chariot to a Likus 24/7. That means he was completely bottled to the Eibishter. Everything he did is from the Eibishter and was completely an expression of the Eibishter. He was like complete merkava, chariot of the Eibishter. Whatever he did, every move of his finger was so-called God moving through him. And God is the essence of goodness. And then he has to run for his life and be afraid. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he wanted to kill the Egyptian, what did we say? He said Shem Hashem, and the guy was dead. Eliphaz comes to him, say Shem Hashem, and you'll kill Eliphaz. What is the whole idea of negotiation and being acting like the weak one and the poor one, and then come to the Shidduch without a cent on his name? Then, as an interesting thing, he made a neder, Vayida Yaakov neder, if God will be with me. After when he woke up and he realized that's the Mokim Kodesh, that's the Mokim of the Beis HaMikdash, so he make a neder, if Hashem will be with me and he give me bread to eat, to beg it, little besh and close to it, then God will be my God. What make a condition with the Eibishter? If he won't give you food, so he's not your God. But how could he make conditions? The question becomes stronger, much stronger. His father's Shidduch, Avram didn't have to go anywhere. He sent Eliezer. Everything went smooth. There was nobody chasing them. And he came with all this money in the world. And he had only miracles and positive things happening, finding. And everything went to, here, Yaakov has to go by himself. Instead of sitting a shliach to find him a wife, officially because he's running away. And full of problems all the way. As we said, from Esav is running away, then Eliphaz, and then with Lavan. And as we said, he had the brachas of Eliezer, the brachas of Avram. Here, Yaakov himself was a tzaddik himself. And said he was already 63 years old. He's a big tzaddik himself, and he had all the brachas from his father and his mother. Next, then he's arriving to the well, to the Be'er, it's not a well is a Ma'ayan. A Be'er is accumulating water, it's not. So he's giving them, so he asked them, do you know Lavan? She said, yes, we know, and his daughter is coming with the sheep. He's giving him a Musar speech. It's not a time to get together. Still in the morning, you should go to work. Give them to drink to the cattle and go work. So you have to find an explanation. What are you giving them Musa speeches? You came here to Rachel is coming, so take care of your things. What are you giving them Musa speeches? That you shouldn't be lazy and shouldn't be. I said if it's yours, even if it's not yours, for sure you mustn't go. You mustn't do it to your master. And if it's yours, also it's not the time. Then a very interesting thing, looks like a very romantic thing. As soon as he saw Rachel, then goes back to saw Rachel. So he picked up this stone that normally needed like 20, 50 people. I don't know how many people that needed, but for sure not 1 or 2 people. He picked up like a cork, like of a bottle, like easy. Looks like because he was got so his energy, his what's happening here? I mean, we're talking about a tzaddik that is his mind is always in the Likus. It says by Avraham Avinu, when he went to Mitzrayim, that now I know that you are beautiful, so he shot him. He didn't have to worry about it. Now I see because he saw in the water, or because now we're coming between ugly people, but all kind of excuses to find. And here's, yes, she's his niece. She's his cousin. Right? His mother Rivka with loving her brother and sister. What is the point that he's picking up this? And when he did it, only when he saw Rachel, he quite couldn't do a favor to the people, giving them musa, so help them. They explain you why they're doing it because they cannot pick it up. So do it for them. Then comes another interesting question. It says, "Vayishek Rachel." He kissed Rachel. First of all, even if he did it, who's why you have to say it? Not so much in halacha to kiss our first cousin. Just remind myself of a joke that Chassidish Reb Mendel Morozov passed away a few years ago at the age of 100. So one time he was in a certain city, and was the Shabbos of this parsha. I heard this story from him. So he was explaining based on Chassidus what is Yankev and is Tiferes and Rachel is Malchus. The Ashpor from the Midas of Midas da Atzilus in Malchus da Atzilus, and that becomes a source for Ashpor in the world. So therefore, he kissed. There was mamish, what means Ashpor, a revelation from Malchus, from Tiferes da Atzilus into Malchus da Atzilus. So another Chassidish Rid walked up to say, "Mendel, you're a clever man. She was a beautiful girl, so he gave her a kiss and made a whole issue with Tiferes, with Atzilus, with Malchus." So, but we know that. Yet that as I said, the obvious our forefathers are tzaddikim and Amerikova and the Imois also. By the way, she was Rachel was 5 years old in this episode that they give you. So maybe Al Pi Halacha, 5-year-old under 6, is not so serious. But what's the whole point? Then we're going. See this describing that Leah was the Einei Orakis, Einei Leah Orakis. The eyes of Leah were most of the was not beautiful. There's one Mepharsh Asoraj Bam said that Rakis means beautiful. The eyes were beautiful, and he says that once the eyes are beautiful, you know everything is beautiful. The Gemara said that once you see a girl, she has beautiful eyes, you don't have to check the rest. For sure, everything is right. But I got most Mepharshim Pshat that she wasn't beautiful. And then we say, but Rachel was beautiful. First of all, even when I say the Rachel is beautiful, say Rachel is fast there, we fast mark, she was beautiful. Why I have to say, Torah doesn't want to speak negative about anybody. Why I have to say that Rachel was not beautiful? Why I have to emphasize the weakness of Leah, that she wasn't beautiful? And Bechlal, who cares if they're beautiful or not? From our point of view, from the point of view of Yaakov, when there's a tzaddik who's a merkava, who's a chariot for the Eibishter, and his job is to establish 12 shvatim to the Jewish nation. So where is the whole idea of beauty coming in here, Bechlal? Then we could go to the idea, Yankov is love and tussin. So what do you want to get paid for your work? He said, I'll work for Rachel for 7 years. I'll work for Rachel for 7 years. Why 7 years? Why didn't you give him 3 years? It's not enough. It's 7 years to work for that. Or if you want, and Lavan is asking him. He's not telling him they have to work 7 years. Now we have another, comes a beautiful story. He worked for 7 years, handed him like for a few days because he was so in love that, if he was so in love, then every day should be like a year. So because he was so in love with him, that it became like a few days, and then say, okay, it's time to that. So he thought that he's getting Rachel, and then he finds out he got Leah. Why? What is the purpose of that? What's happening here? Of course, Lavan did it, but by the end of the day, we know between ourselves that the Rebbeinu Zoning was not Lavan. So what was the purpose happening? That he had to think that he wanted Rachel, and he had to think it's Rachel, but really it was Leah. And then it says, Vayev gam es Rochel milei. He loved also Rochel, because a week later he gave him Rochel. So he loved also Rochel, which means that he loved Leah. And now he loved also Rochel. And it says, milei, he sounds more than Leah. But we say, so why say gam es Rochel is contradicting itself? You loved also Rochel means that you loved Leah, but also loved Rochel. Then say milei means that he loved Rochel more. Then, let's start for a second. What means you love? Okay, we go. Then it says, the Hashem saw, Vayar Hashem kisnu Leah, Vayiftach Rachamo. Hashem saw that Leah is hated. She's snua. Snua means she's hated. So the Chaim, another Hashem asked, what means she's hated? Who hated her? And Yankev the hated Chaz v'Shalom. First of all, that tzaddik is Abbas Yisrael. And Vahavta l'recha kamech, love your fellow Jew like yourself, is the Kol HaTeirah. That's the whole Teirah. For sure, it's a Klal Gadol b'Teirah. It's the most general principle of Teirah. Every Teirah is standing on that. How could it be that Chaz v'Shalom said for sure Yankov didn't hate her? So what means he was snur? And besides, the Rambam passed that a person should love his wife like love her like his own body, and mechabdol respect him more than himself. Yes, more than himself. So Yankov been learned so much Torah for 77 years. He said 63 plus 14 is 77. So now he's already not 77. That's when he arrived. He was 77. Now it's another 7 years. So he's already 84. And what we're saying at the age of 84 now, he still didn't internalize Chaz v'Shalom the learning. So he said for sure it wasn't. And Hashem saw that she was hated. Vayiftach es Rachamo. So it seems like very simple. You are hated, so I'll give you a present. Like, make it beautiful. If you want to be hated, why have to making? What Vayiftach es Rachamo means, he made, opened her womb that she should have children. What is the connection? It seems like because she was snua, that gave you the right of having children. Why does it need it for that? And also she's saying later, when she had Shimon, the second son, she said, by Ruvi said, "Oh Hashem, the Hashem saw in my poverty, and he gave me a child." Then by Shimon, she said, "Shama Hashem, kisnu anech." Hashem heard because I'm hated, and therefore he gave me another son. How does it put together? Then comes another interesting story. I think it's a very small story, but and I think something Rochel comes to Yaakov with a complaint. Why I don't have children? Give me children. Daven for me for children, whatever he was asking. So he says, "What do you want from me?" She said, "But your father's davened for you for children, and they got children." She said, "My father didn't have children, but I have children. It's your problem." And he said, "Vayichar af Yaakov." He got angry. What are you getting angry? A broken lady. Right, she's your favorite wife. So if she says she wants that you daven, either say I daven for you, but it didn't help, or I'm going to daven now for that. What is that point that he's getting upset with you? There's something hiding here in that whole idea that Rochel is hated and he wanted Rochel and he's getting Leah, and then he gets upset with Leah. So then we're saying that the reason that Leah her eyes was not nice because she was crying a lot because everybody said that the big one, Leah was the bigger one for Esau, and the smaller one for Yaakov. Who said it? What means they say? So what if they say? Who's saying? You cannot marry a woman without permission. Even by Rivka, Yitzchak's wife, when they said, Nishalo Esanayra will ask the girl if she wants to go, she said, I will go even if you don't let me. She was 3 years old. So what means somebody said? She has to listen. We know that even in this house, there was going by the will of the girl. And then what's fascinating even worse is that later when finally Rochel had a child, Yosef, Osraf Hashem Cherpos, Hashem took in my embarrassment. So Rashi, one of the pshatim is that I was afraid that I'll fall in because I don't have children. So people said, if I don't have children, I have to go marry Esau. What means who will say? Yaakov loves you. Yaakov will divorce you in order to be able to go marry to Esau, but you don't want it. He has a wife, he has children, but you'll be his wife. Why should he kick you out in order to go to Esau? And who's going to force you to go to Esau? Well, Esau is like he was a threat from physically and spiritually from every angle here. Then comes an interesting story, another little story. Reuven went and collected dudoim, whatever the dudoim is, I don't know in English, but it comes out from most of it says like a cheap grass. It could help for conceiving. So Rachel is asking for dudoim. So she's giving her a pole that you took away my husband, now you want to take away my dudoim. What are you attacking? First of all, Rachel gave you this simonim. Right, so be appreciated that you are married only to young, only because of Rachel's tzidkes. And then Hamish would tell your son to run out and bring another few to them. They were strong young boys, right? And we see later different stories. But if we don't have enough to share this one, either give me a half, or tell your son to go bring the doim for your aunt. And then she's saying, okay, no, wait a minute, you give me the doim, I'll give you Yankee for the night. It's the second time that she's giving up Yaakov. The first time when they got married, Leah went in front instead of here because she didn't want to embarrass her sister. And now for the dudoim, she's giving up to Rachel for the night, and therefore, because of that, she wasn't buried with Yaakov because she's zilzula, because she wasn't respectful enough. Doesn't gel. If you don't have a deeper explanation here, why is the whole talk about the dudoim here something cheap of a rich, very, very wealthy family we're talking about here? Then it's another interesting thing. After all the stories, Leah had 6 boys and 1 girl, and the the other wives, each one had 2. Instead of Rachel also had 2. That's not nice. Why? Why couldn't it be that Leah should have 4 and Rachel should have 4, and then the other 2 should have each one 2, because they are second class? But why does Leah have 6? Because she was hated. That's why she has to have 6 and a daughter. And why did she have a daughter Dinah? Because she changed she damned, and she didn't want Rachel to be stuck with 1 boy. She knew there's only 12 boys going to be. That was the lesson. So she damned that the baby she was pregnant with should change into a girl. What's happening here? Then comes a whole new story with the sheep, with it saying that he's a shepherd, and the tricks and the business back and forth, and the malachim are schlepping the males from other places to here, and he making tricks with the sticks and with the water, and there's miracles, there's mamash, a whole thing to do. And Yankov said, I walked through the night and I was freezing, and I was in the sun, I was boiling, and I never, not one sheep was ever stolen or died on birth, because he took care of it. The mamish killed himself, and that's one of the sources in Allah how to ethics of walking. What is such a big thing about what to make it? He walked that foot. Why do you have to walk so hard? You can take yourself a CEO, some of the other helpers, and they should walk. What are you walking so hard? And what is they telling us about the whole thing? You exchange it for 100 times. The interesting story that gives a little bit light on it. I'm not even getting to the answers. That Yismach Meishe, he was a big Pesach. He was in Hungary, approximately 150, 200 years ago, say 170 years ago. He said to his Talmidim that he was one of the Tzayin Lover. His neshama was one of the flock of by Yankov Avinu. Well, that's if based on that. And then another time he was by the time of when the Jews came out from Mitzrayim, and the third time by time of Yirmiyah. But let's talk about that. That means that the Tzayin Lover by Yankov Avinu was neshamas. So thing that's not, I'm just opening a door to something that's completely something else completely. Okay, I think still have plenty of questions, but let's start answering a little bit because I think we'll go a little bit over time, whoever could stay a little bit. And another thing that what Mamish is very troubling when you read the Parsha superficially. What Rachel stole the idols of your father. What did she accomplish? That he's not going to worship idols anymore. For 5 cents, you could go and buy, and there was a new idol. Not for 5 cents, for 5 rand, for $5, whatever it is. What are you going to accomplish with that? What are you trying to accomplish with that? And then worse of that is, let's say it was a little bit expensive one. When he attacks Yaakov, when Yaakov said that whoever you'll find it should die. Why speak such a language? He asked you to curse. By the way, he didn't say whoever took it should die. He said whoever way you will find it. He didn't find it. So Rachel shouldn't have died. And then Rashi said clearly she died from that curse of Yaakov. It comes out Yaakov's beloved wife, who is the regular of the Merkava, the fourth leg of the Merkava, died from Yaakov's Avinus Klole. We know that tzaddik le'yun and tzaddik kolovin, that the Rebbe protects tzaddikim. Nothing bad should come out from them. So how come here came out such a terrible thing that? Okay, so if you summarize it in a very general way, it comes out Yaakov loved Rachel, and the Rebbe pushed him in Leah from every direction. So the explanation is basically everything Yaakov was a tzaddik and Merkava to the Eibush, everything he did was completely connected 100% with the Eibush, not in main point. Every detail was completely connected to the Eibush. As we mentioned, I think last week, he was on his shlichus now to redeem, to elevate the sparks of godliness by Lavan, what in that time he was a microcosm of the whole work of the Jewish people through history. So this is the story of Jewish history. That the story of the Eibush wanted Adam Rishon should not sin, and then he sinned. Yaakov wanted Rachel as a tzaddikus. She's beautiful means not only the gash, but the physical beauty was mainly a manifestation of her spiritual beauty. Leah was more the idea to make Baalei Tshuva, and that's why her shlichus was to marry Esav, make Esav into Baalei Tshuva. But so if that's the case, why was she crying? In other words, she wanted to mevar Esav again, similar to what we said last week, to getting married to Yaakov. So what was? So in other words, Yaakov wanted to take an easier way out. That would be a relatively easier way out. He'll marry only Rachel and have perfect children, the Jewish people. And Leah, she has the shlichus, the neshama, to make Esav into Baalei Tshuva. The Rebbe said no. And also similar like the bracha of Yitzchak, that a woman should affect her husband. So the Rebbe said no. I want Leah to marry you first, so you body pray ready. You got the brachas to do the avedi in a pnimis, from eternalize, from lamata, transform the, elevate, refine the sparks of godliness from within, not going from a power from above. That's why she has to marry you. And that's why we see by the children of Leah, Reuven messed up, right? He remained a tzaddik, but he messed up. He moved the bell of his father to one tent, another tent, and he got a telling off from his father, and he did tshuva. So who opened the gate of tshuva? It says Reuven. Shimon and Levi killed the whole city against the will of the father, but the father was upset with them. Looks like also something so smooth. Yehuda, Vaiter V'Toma, also nothing so smooth. So the idea of Leah was completely from Baalei Tshuva. So the whole Aveda that Yaakov came to Lavan was the idea of as we said, to elevate the sparks of godliness. And ultimately, somehow we have to elevate the sparks of godliness of Esav. That would happen next step, or next week's parsha. And therefore, that explains basically what was happening, and that's why he put in so much effort, because when every shepsel was a nitzus of a lekus, or a neshama even could be. Similar to what said by Meshach when he chased this shepsel, it was a nitzus from Atzilus, a spark of godliness from Atzilus. And that's why he had to work so hard. And that's why when he met Rachel, who was his wife in the level of tzidkes, That's why he was completely able to pick up everything. I mean, it means to pick up the cover for the well means to take off the concealment of God against godliness. But that wasn't Hashem's plan. That has to be refined in a deeper level. And therefore, but tzaddik, when he's afraid of something, Yaakov was, he has a question, why was he afraid of Esau? Why was he afraid of Eliphaz? Why was he afraid of Lavan? And then he ran away from Lavan also, even so the Eibishter told him to go. He's still afraid of, and he runs away. But tzaddik, in every situation, he has the advantage of the situation without the disadvantage of the situation. Positive of it says that the Jewish people are compared to olives. By squeezing it, you get out the oil, or like a nuts when you. To the idea of going down lower and then coming up, you're coming up much higher. So that was the idea of Yaakov here, with the idea that he wanted to have it a more smoother, because and that's the right thing for him to want. Like the Eibishter wanted that other Marish shouldn't sin also. But that's the external level of the Eibishter want. But the pnimis, what Hashem wanted, is that should be Balei Tshuva. As we said, the place the Balei Tshuva standing, they can move and not stand. But that answers a little bit, if we want to speak in a Kabbalistic little way. What mean he thought that he has Rochel and he has Leah? The whole Yichud of Zohar Nukve, Fatzilas, the Ferris with Malchus, is a spiritual thing. So the darkness of the room is covering up on his understanding of the Yichud, what's happening here, to bring the Shvatim. But that means in that way, what he thought it's Rochel, it was the idea, it's a certain way of Rochel, but it was more went through, that's why she's the main matriarch, but it had to go to Leah, that idea. And that's why Rochel didn't have children initially, because she's a tzaddiket, and the tzaddiket doesn't produce the level of Balei Tshuva that come to a much higher level of godliness. So the future of the Jewish people is a whole the idea not to be all tzaddikim. Okay, the whole future of it is more Balei Tshuva. See it in our generation. The idea that they go down and they really say Aliyah. And that's where ultimately, when she realized that, I'm not going too much about it, when she had Yosef, what is that? Yosef Baili Benache. She realized also that there's something in Rochel. She was but Kane Beroch. She was jealous of Rochel, that Rochel has that mile of Balei Tshuva. And then when she has one child, she said that what is the main point of it? Yosef Baili Benache. Hashem should give me another child. Benache, to make a ben, to make a son from Acher for somebody who is in Klippe. And that's what was Yosef's job, is to go to Mitzrayim, right? Long later, to elevate the sparks of Mitzrayim. Once she got that, the Rochel moved over, but we needed both in Yoni. We need the idea of Yaakov learning in yeshiva for 77 years. And then he's able to go into the world and to refine and transform the world, Milamata Lamaila. And that's why they had to want Rochel. And Rochel was officially the official wife, official real wife. But then in a deeper level, came out that Inya was Leah, that the challenges and the obstacles. And the idea is ultimately made to make Balei Tshuva, and therefore it came out in Dinah, as we'll talk another time. So basically what we're saying, that the action of the obvious, that's a similar bond to know by ourselves in our life, is going to happen the same thing. We try to be tzaddikim, we try to be nice, but we fail, but if there's nothing wrong with that, that's the layer. You think you're a Rochel, you think you married a Rochel, then you have a layer, you have the challenges. And ultimately, no spark will get lost. And even if he has a Yerida, we'll find it better back together. Just finish up with a story or two. And the Alter Rebbe was in jail for 53 days. When he came out of jail, first, one of the interesting things, this points out in a letter to Lezer Medichet, that even the Goyim saw that Hashem's hand in that. I'm emphasizing almost more the idea that even the Goyim saw. I mean, the Biur, that's why Yankov gave Musa to the Goyim, because once I'm married, I'm coming to love them, to refine the spouse. My job is not only the Jewish people, but even the Goyim have to Sheva Mitzvahs B'nei Neach. So Belisa Madisha told the Alter Rebbe, why did you have to suffer and make us suffer for 53 days? You could have put your finger over your forehead and buried the whole jail. So he told him, we think Yankee Avinu couldn't do that to Esau when he came with 400 men, or when Eliphaz came, or all this stuff. He could also put his finger over his forehead, like Moshe Rabbeinu said, Hashem, Hashem, and bury and kill the Egyptian. But that's not the idea. That's a Rochel approach. The approach has to be a Rochel approach. A Leah approach has to be internalizing, transforming it, and doing the idea of tshuva. And I'll finish with another one more short story that when after the Rebbe had his heart attack, a month, Kislev Chanukah, 2 months later, he stood up to give dollars. So a lot of people were what the Rebbe held, so they stood on the side and they stopped black people and they shouldn't be able to go to get dollars. The Rebbe said that Rabbi Gon should announce whoever is stopping somebody from coming to me is declaring war with me. Why? Because it's not somebody the Rebbe is giving dollars. It's a nitzutz, it's a bureau that the Rebbe has to make in the people. And therefore has to be, we don't understand exactly why it is, where and what, but we have to know that that's the idea of Yaakov Avinu is the microcosm, all the others, but especially more by Yaakov because he had the 12 children of the Shvatim, the microcosm of the whole of history. This slavery of working and be cheated by lover. But the main thing is that Yaakov finished in a microcosm. The Rebbe said we finished in a big way. We finished all the Birum and Tzeitzes. Now we're ready for the revelation of Mashiach. So we should have the Gila of Mashiach now. It's Chedesh Kislev, Chedesh Agula. We have Mashiach now. All the best. Kol Tov and a good year, a good Shabbos.
Thank you. Good Shabbos.